Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, I call Palico.
I call Palamute.
It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including the announcement of 2 Monster Hunter games coming to Switch. And then on Thursday, we are starting our Mario month a week early. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like we have so much to get to this episode that we can cut the preamble. Nobody needs to know about my haircut or my underwear. And go straight to talking about Sonic Force's borrowing program.
You know, I've noticed that when I go for walks in the afternoon, my ankles get dirty. This is a real observation I've had. I don't know if it's just dusty outside, but every time I come inside, I feel like Pigpen from Peanuts.
But just around your ankles?
I mean, that is where I see it. That's where I'm like, oh yeah, you went outside and you're a dirty little boy. You need to be cleaned up. If you want to be a dirty little boy, you can borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch if you want to. All you got to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address where we can send this thing to you. You can play it for as long as you want or as long as you don't want. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules. Another thing, there maybe are no rules to this either. We are doing a whole month, as previously mentioned, about Mario. Every Thursday episode for a month and one extra bonus week are all going to be about Mario. And we are capping it off with just our favorite Mario memories. And we need you to contribute to those. So just please write in a Mario memory and email it to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we need it by October 27th at the absolute latest. Look, you've got a couple minutes right now. You got a thing that you remember about Mario. Mark, what kind of stuff are we looking for here?
Here's the great thing. It can be anything. Do you have a happy memory? Do you have a sad memory? Do you have just like a memory of the first time you played a Mario game? Do you want to devise some sort of Christmas light blinking similar to what happened in Stranger Things Season 1, and then film that and then send it to us, and we will decode it to tell the Mario memory that of your choice. All of these are possibilities.
Yeah, those are all possibilities. However, any translation done by us is, of course, final and official. And that's just, you got to live with that if that's how you choose to submit your Mario memory. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Mason. Thank you, Daniel, for submitting memories. Keep them coming, guys. I'm very excited for this episode. It is shaping up to be something fun. Also, we have a couple emails that I do want to address this week. I think we're going to talk about them on our Thursday show, but I just wanted to shout you guys out. Good emails, good questions. Thank you, Josiah. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Ashley. We will talk about your questions this week on the Thursday episode. Mark, too much to talk about. Let's get into what we've been playing this week. And I feel like we could stay here in this section of the show for days. Mark, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which released last Friday. I've been putting time into Mario 64. I think I have maybe about 30 stars. And we probably could spend a lot of time here. I am mildly... that's not fair. I had a lot of difficulty getting back into Mario 64, and I am having, I think, like a good amount of fun with it, but I have to do it like 1 or 2 stars at a time because I find the game.
I don't know how you do that.
I find it really frustrating to play. I find the controls really frustrating. I find the camera infuriating. I am really finding it challenging to go through.
I've beaten Mario 64 since I bought it. I get like 83 stars, something like that. I haven't gotten them all yet, but I kind of wanted to like move on to Sunshine to a game that I had not played before. I find that playing Mario 64, it is best to treat the camera as though it is a thing you cannot control, except for in the cases where you can like suggest that it do something. But for them, like, do not think about that right stick as like your control of the camera. Can it control the camera? Kinda, but like don't count on it. Assume that the game knows best and is putting the camera in an okay place for you.
Yeah, it's I had totally forgotten this behavior, but it's like I think the intention is they're like uh I think the thinking of the developers was like in most instances you're going to want the camera behind Mario. And so it works overtime to constantly try to like pan behind Mario. Like I feel like the camera's constantly panning.
Oh,
It's like
that's interesting. Cause like there are two, there's like the two different like versions of the camera, right?
right.
There's like one that's like the Lakitu based, and the other one that is like behind Mario all the time based. It's are you playing it with the behind Mario all the time?
No, I'm playing with like the
Okay,
Lakitu one. And I
yeah.
just feel like yeah, I feel like I'm always fighting the camera to do what I to get it to do what I want to do. And I also I am finding Mario like a little bit difficult to control. And I don't know if it's like me or if it's the Switch controls. If you didn't have any problem with it, maybe it's just me. I cannot really get Mario to like turn around. I can get him to like go in a little like circle,
Huh.
but I can't get
Oh
him to
no, yeah, sure. To like just like turn on a dime.
yeah, exactly. Like I can't get him to face one direction and then face the other. He like does this little circle, and so when you're doing tight platforming, it's like, oh, I'm just like constantly falling off.
Yeah, especially if he's got some momentum behind him, and you start like kind of gradually turning him. Yeah, he turns into like a whirling maniac. Um, yeah. So that is that the only game in the collection that you have played thus far?
Yeah. I'm interested to get to Sunshine. Have you started playing Sunshine? I'm dying to know what you think.
I have. I'm like 25-ish stars into into Sunshine. And that is it. I don't think I have played another video game that I like and hate at the same time in these quantities. Cuz like there's so much about like the presentation of this game and like the assumption that it needs like cinematics or voice acting or a story or even these awful characters that are like running around this island. That like it's all so annoying, and like hearing any of them speak ever is just like excruciating.
You don't like the people on Isle Delfino?
No,
Oh man.
I want them all to die in a fire. But when you like get into the levels, I also don't really care for the hub world of like the Delfino like
Mhm.
plaza and like that island. But once you get into like the individual worlds and you are trying to knock out the individual shines, it's surprising to me how like meaty each of those experiences are, especially coming immediately off of 64, where a game that I know very very well, but like I can pop into any level in Mario 64 and run out with a star in like 30 seconds. And you got to like put in some work to do them in Sunshine. And occasionally that work is a little too obtuse for me. I find myself looking up what I'm supposed to be doing in these games or in this game kind of a lot. Um, and I think part of that is because like I'm never sure, like, is this a scenario where the game wants me to solve the problem with flood or not with flood? Because sometimes you can be like spraying something with flood and it doesn't appear to be reacting, and like the solution is like, no, spray it more. And I'm like, well, okay, it didn't appear to. How was I wasn't getting any feedback when I was spraying it. So this, I basically have a guide open the whole time I'm playing it. Um, just to like get an idea, or sometimes I'll be like, do they expect me to like try and climb up this? There was a shine that I unlocked at the top of a Ferris wheel, and you're doing a thing behind the Ferris wheel to like get the bugs off it or whatever, and like you climb to this this peak, and it's like great, and now the shine is like way up high, and I was like, okay, so is there a place where I can like board the Ferris wheel thing and like ride it up and get up there? And it's like, no, you have to jump just on top of the cart. You cannot get in the Ferris wheel cart. You just have to know that they want you to like just stand on top of one of them. And there's no like straightforward place to do that from. You just have to like blind jump and know that that's what it wants you to do.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. The Ferris wheel level is like notorious, and I spent so much time. Yeah, because like you're also kind of fighting the camera.
Yeah. The camera's a lot better, but like that almost makes it worse for me because I do feel like I should have control over the camera.
Yeah, again, it's been like 15 years since I played Sunshine, but my memory of it is exactly what you're saying, where like there early in the game there's a level where there's like a lot of scaffolding, and
yeah,
like I remember spending a lot of time like, figuring out how I get through the scaffolding and how do I get like up and all that kind of stuff. But it was at a place in my life where I had a lot of time to do that. And so I do wonder what that experience would be like now going back to it. And I wouldn't say that Sunshine for me is how like Mario 64 is for you, because I did not like I haven't played Sunshine like multiple times.
Yeah.
But I think that like, because I have so many more memories of it and more positive memories, that I'm like looking forward to revisiting it. And I wonder if I'll have like more tolerance for some of its shortcomings than like I do for Mario 64's shortcomings.
Yeah.
We've talked about on the show how like, like with Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, like pretty much like every release is just like getting better and is like the best. And I kind of think that that's true for Mario as well, although I haven't played Galaxy yet. And in my head, Galaxy is almost like the Mario game, so it'll be interesting to see.
So Sarah's been playing Galaxy, and man, like just walking through the room while she's playing, and that game looks and sounds awesome. Like it's just so cool, and I don't really know how, but like every 5 minutes or so in that game is like another showstopper set piece. They just do so much cool stuff. You're flying through space. You're talking to bees. You are in a bee costume, which I mean, I know we ranked the Mario power-ups. We may have undersold the bee costume. It's so cute. But yeah, that game's incredible, and I'm gonna wait until after I beat Sunshine to move on to Galaxy. I don't think I'm gonna try to like get every shine in Sunshine, and part of that is because like I'm enjoying the more difficult levels where they take away your flood backpack. But some of those, even early in the game, are very hard.
They're really hard.
Like just legitimately hard platforming.
Have you gotten to the one where like they toss you? They have to like throw you.
I've been tossed a couple times by these weird Delfino guys. I have yet to like use it in like a way that matters. So I don't know. Maybe I'm finding an alternate solution, and I should have just been thrown somewhere. This game and its music player renews my demand that the Nintendo Switch online app for your phone that should have access to all of the music in any music player in any game that's connected to your account. Because why not? Why I want to stream this music to my phone. I want to listen to, and like they say you can bring your Switch like it's a music. I'm not gonna do that.
Well, and if it was easy to connect like my headphones, like a Bluetooth headphone to Switch, yeah. Like that would maybe be different. But no, you're right. It's to me, so obvious that should be a feature of the phone app.
And I guess the idea that like they have these music players in these games, like that's very cool. But think of how many of those games have music players where you are unlocking music as part of the gameplay, right? Animal Crossing does this, Smash does this, Mario Odyssey does this. And if like the app were rewarding you with access to the music that you were finding in the game, like I currently never open this app. If it had this feature, I would use it all the time.
Yeah, 100%.
Mark, Sarah went to the dentist this morning. I drove her there. It's in Beverly Hills, so it's a little bit of a ways away. I had to wait while she was having a procedure done. So I did myself a little bit of a favor and downloaded Hades on the Switch to play while her procedure was getting done. And I can tell you right now, look, Mark, I'm very excited to be recording this episode with you. I like talking about Nintendo. I like doing this show. I'm a little bit mad that I'm not playing Hades right now.
Oh, it's that good?
It's really good. Yeah, it's got that perfect like one more time, one more try. It is a roguelike game, which means that it anticipates that you're going to die and doesn't give you any checkpoints. So it kind of returns you back to the very beginning of the game, and you lose all the power ups that you had gained on your way moving forward. There's just enough like between runs progression so that you're like getting incrementally better and getting access to more weapons to start with, and like all that kind of stuff that it feels like very much in line with you just like getting your sea legs of like learning how to play the game better, but you're also like getting more powerful. And then every time like the power-ups that you're running into, it's kind of randomized, but there are also points where like you can pick. So you're like, oh, I had good luck with like the Zeus power-ups last time, I'm gonna follow all the lightning bolts. Or I had good luck with the Poseidon stuff, or even just like I was having fun with it. So yeah, I mean the game is an absolute blast. The writing is amazing. The art rules. And when you get locked into like boss fights or even like a fight that's been a little bit like protracted, like sort of like the game realizes that you've been having a tough time with the fight, it like kicks on some like rockin' guitar and like it's super fun. Like it's the game's just really 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 good.
That's awesome. And then finally, also yesterday, Nintendo, as part of Mario's 35th anniversary, you could go to the Nintendo website. There were like 5 or
Yes.
6 different missions that you have for Mario's 35th anniversary. And if you
6 missions. One of them was buy Super Mario 3D All Stars. Another one was participate in a Mario Kart tour thing, and then the other 4 were just like throw away, do some things on the website.
Yeah. And so if you did 5 of the 6, and one of them has to be, it's mandatory, purchase Super Mario 3D All Stars, then you're eligible to get like this pin set from the My Nintendo store for free if you pay for shipping. And so today at noon, or yesterday at noon, they released the first wave of these of this pin set, and it was predictably a complete mess.
Yeah, just an absolute disaster. I was texting with friend of the show Matt Acevedo as it was happening. He was in a panic, had the pins in his cart. Meanwhile, Mark, you had texted me earlier, and I was like, oh shoot, I have to like redeem my Nintendo points on Mario All Stars. And then I get a message being like, it could take up to 48 hours for this to reflect on the website. I was like, no. So while all that was happening, I still didn't have that mission checked off. Mark, were you able to secure these pins?
I was finally. So basically what happened was like, once you're eligible to redeem it, they gave you a code, and then you went to the My Nintendo store and you tried to add the pins to your cart. But in order to do that, you have to input that code, and then they was like 1 code per person or 1 code per account. But what was happening for a lot of people, and what was happening for me, is like I would input the code and then nothing would happen. Like it would spin and then it would refresh, but like nothing would change. And so I like tried that a couple of times. Eventually like saw it in my cart, went to the cart, got like a 500 error. It was just like it was a mess. Like the store was just not working.
Right.
But then I went back like 3 or 4 hours later. The pins were still in my cart, and I was able to like go through it without any problem at that point.
Well, so it was my understanding that as long as you got your code, that code will work. And they just needed like, time for people to stop like spamming the thing. It's, Mark, I mentioned this to you, but these were described as a limited item. And when Nintendo says that something is available, they mean that it's limited. And when they say something is limited, they mean you can't have it. And that certainly seemed to be the case here. I'm not getting these pins. I checked in this evening and saw that it finally clicked over and checked off that I had done the mission. And I was like, oh great. And there's a button for like claim my prize, and it's like nope, out of them. So
yeah, it'll be in the piece that I don't know is they in the 35th anniversary direct when they show the pins,
there were a
in
lot
the fine
of them.
print they say there was way more than actually like turned out to be, but they say that the pins will release in 2 waves in like the fine print.
Yeah.
That's what it says. And so what I don't know what that means is like, okay, was today wave 1? Because and then in a few months or in a few weeks or whatever, it'll be wave 2, and people who got wave 1 like aren't eligible.
Well, and
or they're
are
gonna have
those
like a whole new set of rewards.
yeah? Are those different pins?
Yeah.
Or is it just like
I don't
a
know.
second
It's a complete
opportunity?
mystery.
Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, trying to buy Nintendo products remains one of the most frustrating Nintendo games out there. But
I would be curious about if other people had like similar success or lack of success. Like, you should definitely let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Tweet at us at NinCart Society or email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
Just to put a button on the Matt Acevedo side of this story, he was able to get through. He got those pins. So, woo! Good for you, Matt. I will have no pins. But also, look, do I need more like enamel pins? No. Do I sort of want them? Yeah. Do I want them especially because there are no cons this year? So I just don't have any like little tchotchke garbage that's new to the house? Yeah, definitely that. All right, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So tomorrow, Wednesday, September 23rd, we're getting a new batch of NES and SNES games for the Switch Online program.
Very cool.
The one everybody was kind of like anticipating or asking for since Donkey Kong Country was revealed in July is coming on Wednesday. Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest will be available for the SNES Switch Online. Also released is the Peacekeepers for the SNES, and the first time in like outside of Japan, Mario's Super Picross is coming to Switch.
I love that they have just decided that like this is something they're doing with the NES or with the Super NES Switch Online specifically, is releasing Super Famicom games that have never been localized, remain not localized, are in Japanese, probably have some impenetrable menus if you can't read the language. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a big Picross guy now. This is something that has happened over the course of the show. I have become a Picross man. So I'm going to muscle my way through those through those menus and play this game.
Of the ones that like the previously unlocalized games that they brought over as part of the SNES Switch Online, have they all been puzzle games?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like an easy one for them to bring over, where the mechanics of the game, once you figure it out, like it doesn't really matter that they're in Japanese.
Yeah, the other two have been Panel de Pon and Puyo Puyo, which I think it helps that both of those, that like all of these games have sort of like modern analogs that have become popular in the meantime. So like just being able to play them on this service is an obvious value.
And then on Wednesday for the NES is SCAT Special Cybernetic Attack Team. A game I'm totally not familiar with.
Yeah, me neither. I am a little bit bummed out. So I'm happy about the Super NES games. Because when we got Mario All-Stars on the Super NES, it messed up my whole like game ordering system. Like I had my menu all like nicely sorted. I really liked the way it was looking. And then Super Mario All-Stars, I was like, I don't know where to put this. This is like one game. Does it go like in the mix with everything else, or does it just kind of like rest on top? Do I want it to be the first thing I see when I open this thing? And now that like there are 3 more games coming, including one that's going to be the like tall vertical one, which is wild that there are different shaped icons in each of these apps. Anyway, that I'm excited for the opportunity to like try and like fit those in where they go. I'm annoyed with Scat on the NES because my bottom 2 rows in my Switch Online are both full of games. I can't add any more games to them. And this is one that I just want to throw like in those garbage rows. But I don't know what to do now. They're both full. My garbage piles are full and they're giving me more garbage, Mark.
Well, you'll have to let us know like what solution you come up with.
I'll come up with a very good. I'll come up with a solution. I don't know that it'll be good.
And then on Thursday, September 24th, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition is being released for Switch.
Wow.
Lost Ember is released on Switch. And Retro Classics with an X Collection number 1, Data East, is released on Switch. It includes Bad Dudes, Joe and Mac, Heavy Barrel, Express Raiders, Super Real Darwin, Gate of Doom, Shootout, and Super Burger Time, which I think I don't entirely understand. We've talked about before because I think like there was a double pack with like Bad Dudes and something else that came out a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
I don't understand how the licensing for these like arcade games work. I don't know if I guess maybe these aren't the arcade version. Maybe like they are like the console ports of these. It's it just feels a little bit like there have been a lot of versions of Bad Dudes released on Nintendo Switch.
And Joe and Mac slash Caveman Ninja, like it's the same game. And so we've seen a lot of them just sort of like rehashed and represented. I mean, if it's your jam, like these things are out there.
Yeah, it's like $23, I think. And then on Friday, September 25th, PGA Tour 2K21 is released in retail. I think it's already been available digitally. And then also Car Driving School Simulator, or Car Driving School, I guess is probably how
Car Driving School Simulator
is released on Switch. And I'm highlighting it because like really specific simulation games is one of like my favorite types of video games to know that, not to play, but to know that they exist. Like because like they're not fun to me, but I love that there is an audience for like Car Driving School Simulator and like Farm Equipment Simulator.
Right. Do you think this is like a sim like management kind of game where like you're running a driving school? You have no idea.
It is not.
Oh, okay.
It is not. It is, yeah, it is not that. It is, there are 30 different cars. And it's all, and you're just driving around cities. There's different cities that you drive in. And then as you are driving, you learn and get like good driving tips. But
so it seems like it's actually like it actually is a driving school almost, like less simulator.
Yeah,
more
like
just,
on some of the cars, because it looks like you can also drive a bus, but in like the screenshots, like the car has the like bumper sticker on the back that's like student driver, like that sort of thing. So I think it's playing up the like the learning good driving habits part of like a driving simulator.
When I was learning how to drive, I was I took like driver's ed in school as part of like summer school, right? At the high school. And we had like a driver's ed lab where there were these like almost arcade style seats with like wheels and like pedals and stuff. And there were probably like a dozen of them in the room. And like, so everyone's like sitting in them sort of like staggered. So you can all see a screen, and on the screen, it's projecting, like where you're driving. And, no one has the ability to actually like control where you're going because it's just filmed. And this is like, 1998 or something. So like you would just get like dinged points if like your wheel was in like the wrong place, or like, not going when you're supposed to. And I remember the last lesson was you were in the left lane of the 405 and you needed to exit. And I'm growing up in Wisconsin at this point, and the thought of a like 9-lane highway freaked me out, because I-94, which ran through Kenosha, that is 2 lanes on either side, 3 when it gets like up to Milwaukee. So this just like blew my mind, and like was in my head just like the like stressful thing. And now I live here and I do it, and I'm like, this is no big deal.
My driving school, it wasn't like a part of like the curriculum at all. Like my high school didn't offer it. Ours was like so kind of adjacent to campus. You didn't there was like this driving school is a driving school slash tax preparation place. And so it was like 3 or 4 weekends of like written of like coursework where you'd watch videos and like have the DMV manual and all that kind of stuff. But then there was no like simulation. It was just like, great, and now you sign up for like where you just drive around with an instructor for like 3 hours, which is an insane thing that we do.
Yeah.
Where we're like, hey, like this 15-year-old with this like 45-year-old man, and we're just gonna like drive around anywhere for 3 hours.
Were you, when you did your like on the road time as part of your class? And look, again, there's so much news, we don't have time to screw around. The car that we were driving, the driving instructor sitting in the passenger seat also had a brake.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's what driving school and simulator was just you playing the role of that driver, so you can make suggestions to to the student about where to go, and you can apply the brake when they're going too fast.
Right, and then you can also be like, hey, actually, can we like stop at my house so I can get more cigarettes?
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna go through the drive-thru at McDonald's. All right, those are the new releases. Mark, let's close this out. Now it's time for a regular segment on the show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, it's not Nintendo specifically. We are going to be talking about Final Fantasy XVI, which was just last week revealed to be a PlayStation exclusive, which is huge. Although exclusive maybe only means for a while. Who knows what that actually means?
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. It seems to be that like it'll be PlayStation exclusive for a while. But hey, Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah. Also, I would like to touch on like the other parts of the presentation, but let's start with Final Fantasy 16 because that seems like the most exciting. The most sort of like incendiary topic that we have here.
I mean, we like you and I have both talked about like obviously Final Fantasy is a big part of our like video game experience.
Yes.
But I have not played Final Fantasy 15. The last one that I played was 13. But one thing that's cool about Final Fantasy is as a series is that every game like reinvents itself. And so even though like 15 didn't super like really appeal to me, I'm excited for the possibility of a new Final Fantasy game anytime it comes around. And I like the idea that this one is set in like a fantasy setting or maybe just a medieval setting.
Well, so that's the part. I mean, it's definitely fantasy because we see like the and they're back to calling them Eidolons, I believe. Like the Ifrit and the Shiva and Rama, Leviathan, Bahamut, all of those like the summons basically. So like yeah, I really like how medieval it feels. Like there are thatched roofs and dirt roads and people are poor and other people are not, and it looks really cool. The combat reminds me of I haven't played 15, but I believe that is a lot of what 15 looks like in terms of the combat, but it's also very Final Fantasy 7 in that it's like Final Fantasy 7 remake. In that it's all that sort of real time, like hacking away. It
looks very
stuff.
Action oriented.
Yeah. I've not gotten back to Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but you weren't loving it.
I was not loving it. No.
Wait. So how far did you? Another time.
Yes.
Another time.
Another topic.
Here's my thing with Final Fantasy 16 is that the Final Fantasy games that I like. And I think some of it may have just been like the limitations of the system. So, everything was kind of like chibi and cute.
Yeah.
Or it was just pixel art a lot of the time. I missed the whimsy from Final Fantasy. And I think even like some of the PlayStation 2 titles captured that whimsy really well. But I do not feel like these games, like 15 or this one, are particularly whimsical. And I do miss that, but maybe that's what Dragon Quest is for now.
Oh, I mean, Dragon Quest is full of whimsy, so maybe that's just where we need to turn. Were there other games in the showcase that got you excited or that you were interested in?
Not particularly, but I actually didn't watch the entire showcase. I was more just like catching up after the fact because I'm like not ready or particularly excited at this moment for like a new console generation.
Yeah, well, and I mean, we were just talking about the difficulty of ordering these dumb pins, but evidently the situation pre-ordering PlayStation 5s were just as busted, and even prompted Sony to put out a tweet saying like, "Boy, that sure was rough, right? We'll do better next time." Which I mean, I don't know. I think we all knew that these things were going to be in limited quantity.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that we have a date, November 12th, which is a whole presidential election away. Check your registration and then please make a plan to vote and then vote. But and the price points of $500 and $400 for the disc and discless. Evidently, the discless version of the system is almost impossible to come by.
Yeah, I was seeing something like that too, where like GameStop or somewhere the ratio was like reported to be like 4-1.
Oh, so so the on GameScoop, IGN's GameScoop podcast, Justin Davis, who runs a lot of their like back end stuff, was saying that they have those like click through links so that you can order stuff from retailers, but like through their website.
Yeah.
And they said that they sold the disc version to the discless version 100 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that so? So that's based on demand then.
Well, but that's the actual sell. So like that's what they were able to actually sell.
I see.
So
I see,
it's maybe demand versus supply. But in either event, people were finding most success actually booking the disc version, which is a little bit surprising to me.
Well, what about you? What games were you interested in?
Okay, well, so just so you know, the 433 that I was playing has ended. There is no applause because the performers are cowards. But I mean, Resident Evil 8 looks neat. That new Spider-Man game seems like it's kind of cool. The thing that I think is really neat is that people who get the PlayStation 5 and get the PlayStation Plus have access to a bunch of PlayStation 4's like sort of greatest hits on that system just for subscribing. For not for free because obviously you have to pay to subscribe, but that's a nice little bonus. And I have no interest in that Hogwarts game.
No, I don't either.
Many reasons.
10 years ago, I would have loved it.
Yeah. 10 years ago, we all would have loved it. All right, we were accompanied today by Lord of the Lost. This was a quarantine performance. So they were all in their homes. I was hoping there was going to be applause at the end of it. There was not. Mark, again, let's stop screwing around. There's too much news to discuss. Let's get into the news.
So last Thursday, September 17th, Nintendo live streamed a third Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. And these things are just continually getting like bigger and bigger. They were really getting their toes wet with that first one.
With the 4, maybe arguably 5 games that they discussed in it. Yeah, so
but yeah, there was.
Should I just give a quick rundown of this thing by the numbers?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we had first of all, this one was live streamed. It was not a video on demand, and we were told about it in advance, a little over 30 hours in advance. We knew that this thing was going to happen. It's 15 minutes and 36 seconds long. They talked about 12 games, including 2 from Capcom and 1 from Square Enix. So, whatever. The thing that we said a couple weeks ago about Square and Capcom not supporting the Switch is just wrong, I guess. And then there were 2 games that are available right now. 3 if you want to count Hades. But we knew that Hades was coming out on Thursday. So, does that count? Like it's not a surprise or a shadow drop. I don't know.
Right.
And then this was followed by a Monster Hunter Direct that gave another 16 minutes. In-depth look into the Monster Hunter games that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, so this was like a meaty presentation, and it leads off with probably the biggest reveal. I mean, not probably, I don't need the qualifier. The biggest reveal of that mini direct, Monster Hunter Rise, which is a brand new Monster Hunter game coming to the Switch on March 26th, 2021.
Hold that date in your head for right now. March 26th, 2021. We will come back to it.
The game includes new monsters, Magnamalo, Acnosum, and Great Izuchi, Tetradon, and tons more. You'll have Palicos, which are your pet companions, and Palamutes, which are your dog companions. You can ride your dog. You're able to take 2 of them with you in battle, unless you're playing multiplayer, in which case you can bring 1. It's called Monster Hunter Rise because they wanted to really emphasize the verticality of these levels, and it includes a wire bug, which is like a grappling hook, which you can kind of like Spider-Man grapple onto anything. Well, maybe not anything, but you can like grapple around quite a bit.
Yeah, it does look like it's tapping into the Breath of the Wild climb everything sort of mentality, and maybe it's just because it's on a Nintendo system that I'm like, yep, it's taking cues from Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I think the fact that the name of the game is Rise means that they are sort of counting on that as a if not core mechanic, a like really sellable mechanic of this game.
They also announced 3 new amiibo, a Palico, the Malamute, and Magnamalo.
Oh my bad, that should be Palamute. I have a hard time typing.
Oh, Palamute.
I have a hard time typing a word that's not a word.
But the Palico one is super cute.
Mm-hmm. I mean the Palamute is also cute.
And the game is made with the RE engine. This is the first game. So the RE engine is like Capcom's kind of like next like new generation engine. They like Resident Evil 7 and those types of games, Resident Evil 8, like those types of games are running on it.
So are Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake and the latest Devil May Cry are all in that same engine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And the rumor is that Capcom had been like exploring porting Resident Evil 7 to Switch, but it wasn't. They found that like it wasn't possible or incredibly difficult. You'll remember that in Japan they got like the streaming Resident Evil 7, but nothing like that ever came out here. But apparently Capcom has found that it's like possible to make Switch games with the RE engine, but they have to be made like for Switch, like specifically targeting Switch. They can't just like port existing games. One of the big like features of Monster Hunter Rise is this like the world is much more open, something that they're taking from Monster Hunter Worlds. And so it's like they showed off how it's like once you leave the hub area and you go out to like exploring, the areas are like one seamless world that you travel through.
And it seems like a pretty impressive, like in terms of scale, world, and in terms of like visual fidelity. The RE engine is impressive. If you haven't played Resident Evil 2 remake or Resident Evil 3 remake, like they are stunning looking games. That they just in terms of lighting and in terms of just everything are very smooth, very cool. I do think it's interesting that they've found a way to make this thing run or make it work on Switch, but I also think I just want to like plant the seed that like there's a technological barrier that's being like broken here with this game that's coming out March 26th. We'll get back to that date later in the presentation.
And then the other Monster Hunter game that they revealed is Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin, which is coming sometime in summer 2021. Monster Hunter Stories, the first game appeared on the 3DS, and it's kind of like Monster Hunter Pokemon. You're like raising the monsters, you're finding the monsters, and then you're like teaming up with the monsters to fight other monsters.
I'd argue that it's a little bit more like character based and story based than Pokemon. You know, like Pokemon's always got the loosest thread of like you want to be a trainer and you're going to be the best. But I played through the demo of the original Monster Hunter Stories on 3DS, and like it is a proper RPG. JRPG with like a story and a character that you're playing as, and this looks to be more of that.
They're teasing some sort of connectivity between Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2, but they've said that we will learn more about that in the future, and possibly at TGS, which happens next week, because they said that they would be showing off more about both these games at TGS.
Yeah. And did you mention already that this comes out summer 2021?
I did, yes.
Okay. So that is, let's just note, not a specific release date, just a window.
Next, they showed off Fitness Boxing 2, Rhythm and Exercise, which is coming out December 4th of this year. Building on the first Fitness Boxing game, this one includes a 2-player mode, an alarm mode like Ring Fit Adventure, and the ability to turn off specific moves. So if there's something that you like do not want to do or cannot do, you can turn it off. Your save data carries over from the previous game, which is pretty cool. And they introduced 3 new trainers.
Seems neat. If you're a fan of the first Fitness Boxing, that is this one also. Do we know? Is this one also published by Nintendo? Because the first one was, well, not developed, was published by Nintendo.
Yeah, I wonder if like if in Japan it is not published by Nintendo, but outside of Japan maybe it will be, like the other one.
Yeah, interesting.
And then next was a new Disgaea game, Disgaea 6: Defiance of Destiny, also coming summer 2021, which is a Switch exclusive. I remember back in early in the Switch's life in 2017, Disgaea 5 like definitive edition or complete edition came out on Switch and did incredibly well outside of Japan. And so it makes sense that that Disgaea 6 would be coming to Switch as well. This one seems to be all about like damage and the max amount of damage you can do and putting zeros after that for whatever reason. They're like max damage is in the quadrillions and your max level is near like 100 million.
Wait, okay, come on. How do you even look at a number that's 100 million on the screen? And like, how can you tell that 100 million from 10 million? Like, just from looking at them on the screen, you're gonna have no idea how much damage you're dealing.
It's damage inflation for sure.
Yeah, it is silly. And you know, the game looks, it is expressly being silly. Like the main character is a zombie. And like it's just, you know, it's all this like over the top. And it's a like a strategy combat game, right?
Yes, I think so. I played way back in the day, like a little bit of the demo for Disgaea 5, but I don't really remember it. Although, if I wanted to check it out again, this week would be a perfect time to do it because Disgaea 5 Complete has a free trial from the 23rd to the 29th for all Nintendo Switch Online members. So I like that they're continuing to do this, that if you, it's just like another perk of being part of Nintendo Switch Online.
Yep.
Next up, they showed Empire of Sin, which it didn't have like a release date, but I might be coming out really soon. You can pre-order it now. Anyways, I feel like we did see this one.
Yeah, I couldn't
somewhere.
remember if we saw this at a PlayStation State of Play a couple months ago or at a previous Nintendo Direct. It looks like it's a you know, Prohibition era Chicago gangster sort of strategy simulation game. I like the idea of it more than I like what I see of the actual game. It actually looks a little bit janky to me. Like it's one of those where you're like, oh, I don't think this is running well. Yeah.
I like the aesthetics of it. It is. I feel like maybe because I had seen the game before, I'm like, wow, this game is getting like a lot of promotion for a game that to me seems like an indie. But
Yeah.
what do I know? Next they showed off Sniper Elite 4, which is coming this holiday season. They did the thing where like they zoom out from gameplay footage to reveal that it's running on Switch. Like it's a like surprise that you can play it in handheld mode.
Yeah, and like what? Why is that happening now? Why is it happening in 2020? It doesn't make sense.
And then there was a quick sizzle reel showing what else is coming to Nintendo Switch this month. They had The Long Dark, which is available today, where you can explore the frozen wilderness in the aftermath of a geomagnetic disaster.
I mean, you had me at geomagnetic disaster, which I realized was the last thing you said, but that is a compelling premise.
PGA Tour 2K21 is being released at retail on the 25th, which we talked about in new releases. And then Hades was available today, and again, not particularly new. Patrick has been playing it and is tired of me talking, so he can get back to play it some more.
I just want to play Hades some more. And look, Mark, I enjoy doing the show with you.
Next, they showed off Balan Wonderland, which is a Square Enix game that's coming Wonderworld, sorry. Wonderland was his first smaller regional park that he built in California. Wonderworld, of course,
that's right,
in Florida. Coming from Square Enix on March 26, 2021. Is this another one that I feel like we had seen before?
Oh, I don't know. This one seemed like a surprise to me.
Oh, maybe I was like, I had a vision of some sort, but I'm pretty sure that we've seen this somewhere in a Nintendo presentation. But either way, it's a cute looking 3D platformer. Has like costume change abilities, a co-op mode. I don't know. It's fun to see like Square Enix doing stuff like this.
Yeah, it seems, and yeah, it seems cute. Mark, let's talk about this date. Okay, we've got a sort of big release from Square Enix and a sort of big and a very big release from Capcom on March 26th. We don't have solid dates in the rest of this presentation for anything past December, right? So this is at least 3 months past that for March 26th. Is that the release date for the new version of the Nintendo Switch?
I'm skeptical.
I am skepticism.
But I also, like, deep in my heart am a believer and I love the hype. And so, yeah, I'm all in. I'm marking my calendar now.
It is odd that two games from two big publishers are coming out on that date, and that they know that they have that date locked in now. It doesn't say March. It doesn't say early 2021. It's March 26, 2021.
It is like I mean, you have reason to be like, wait a second, why call that out?
Yeah, and also with the RE engine finally running on the Switch, where it's like, okay, maybe it runs on the Switch, but it actually looks pretty good on whatever the new version of the Switch is going to be. So that's all of that is sort of conspiring together, and we know that they're working on one, and that they were, shooting for like either the end of Q. What would that be? I guess Q4 or like beginning of Q1. There's a lot happening there. I think it's a lock. I think it's a lot, Mark.
The Switch will be 4 years old next March.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that you would want to introduce like a hardware upgrade at that point. Rune Factory 5 was the next to be shown off. Also coming sometime next year. This is like a mix between Harvest Moon and like a dungeon crawler RPG. It's a mashup of two things I love a lot. Rune Factory 5 is one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. And then finally they showed off Ori and the Will of the Wisps, the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, which was available last Thursday for $29.99. This is like Microsoft Games game that's showing up on Switch, like we've seen a couple of other ones, including the first game in the Ori series. There's going to be a collector's edition, a physical collector's edition that includes both Ori games and a bunch of Ori merch coming later from iam8bit for $150. But then also looks like in December they're going to be releasing like regular physical editions for each game. I know that this is a beloved series. I have not played any of them, and it looks to me like a lot of like platformers that we've seen, but I wonder if like those platformers are ripping off the success of like Ori.
That is my suspicion. This is also a series that I've not played at all, and I've been chastised by my friends who have played it for not looking into it. So one of us will have to look into it one of these days, but I'm not going to stop playing Hades anytime soon. So and so that gets us through the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. Mark, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was great. I thought like it's just been a crazy like 4 weeks for new announcements from Nintendo.
Yeah, wild.
And it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to see a new set of Monster Hunter games. It's never been a series that I've been able to get into. I have a suspicion that I'll end up giving Rise a try. Um, just because it looks neat, and if by March 26, 2021 we are any closer to spending time together in physical proximity, that would be a fun game to play together.
It would be fun, and I know that it will have online co-op,
Oh, okay, great.
I believe as well. Yeah. Um, or I think. I guess I shouldn't say that with a ton of certainty, but I think that it has online co-op as well. One of the things that I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised, people loved Monster Hunter Worlds, and I wasn't sure what the reaction was going to be online to this like game coming to Switch, and it seems like people were really positive on it, which was really fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Monster Hunter fan base uh isn't like big enough or like established enough, at least in the West, to be toxic yet. Like it'll have an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to get there, and people will be like, "That's not my Monster Hunter." Um, but I don't think it's there yet. I think people are still in the like "Welcome to the Monster Hunter Club" phase of Monster Hunter fandom.
Really big news from yesterday. So on Monday morning, Microsoft announced that they are going to acquire ZeniMax, the parent company of developers such as Bethesda Softworks, id Software, Arcane, and a lot more. I think it'll be like 23 studios or something that they're acquiring in whole.
So that means
Um,
that in discussing this story, we are talking about all three major platforms on this episode of this just Nintendo show.
which I think we've never done before.
We might
Um,
have.
but this is a bummer to me. And the reason that it's a bummer to me is because like I feel like we're beginning to see in video games what we have seen in like in entertainment in general, where it's just like consolidation
Sure.
to of just like massive companies just becoming more massive. Um and like I think that having ZeniMax, like you can say that it's good for Microsoft because right, their like first party portfolio just like exploded. Um but I think for video games as a whole, this sort of consolidation is really scary.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of thing that was true about like Disney swallowing up Fox, or 20th Century Fox at any rate, was that like at first you see the entertainment possibilities of like, oh my god, now the X-Men can be in the Marvel movies, just for one dumb example. And on the Microsoft ZeniMax side, where you're like, oh my gosh, the Bethesda games can be part of Xbox Game Pass. That is cool, but it cuts out there's such a huge company with such a huge like share of the market, and just to have them gobbled up by another share of that market means that there are fewer like entities, fewer voices, fewer sources of revenue that are responsible for the games that we're playing, and that's just from like a business perspective kind of scary. They spent $7.5 billion on this acquisition.
Yeah, I remember how exciting and how fun it was when Doom was first announced for Nintendo Switch, and when like Skyrim was showing up, and you were like, "Wow, like it's really cool to see like a third party like
Yeah.
it's like Bethesda or id supporting Nintendo." And not that that's like the most important part of this, but you realize that like for video games in general, this is a huge player to just be like taken out
Well,
and becoming exclusive.
do you think that they will in fact be uh like, just because they're owned by Microsoft, does that necessarily mean that they will be exclusive to Xbox platforms?
So I think we'll have to see. Basically, like it's obviously super early days.
Yeah.
What Microsoft has said today is that they'll be evaluating games on a case by case basis to determine if they'll launch on a console that isn't Xbox. So, we've seen Microsoft put a handful of like of games on Switch, smaller ones, like the Ori games that we just talked about.
And
And
Cuphead
so,
and Minecraft, I think, are the big ones.
right. And I think maybe Minecraft is a really instructive example, but to me, it seems most likely, or I think at this point, if Microsoft were to put some of these games on a platform, it would be Nintendo. And I think they're not right. Like, I think they see PlayStation as more of a direct competitor,
Sure.
and so I think they're gonna like if they're gonna put it on one of the two, it would be Nintendo. And there are some games that for I think Arcane Software is working on a game that it was already going to be like a PlayStation timed exclusive or a PlayStation exclusive, and Microsoft has said that they're going to be honoring those agreements. So I think like Doom Eternal's still going to come out, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm more worried like a year from now, 2 years from now, what does this look like? And I think it's mostly just going to be. I'm worried for a number of reasons. One, I think it's just like all these games are just going to be Microsoft exclusive, which I don't think is great for video games in general. And two, I'm worried about like what this means for these Bethesda studios in the long run. And will this become like a BioWare situation where everything just becomes like you lose your identity because now
Yeah.
you're trying to exist in this larger like IP that Xbox is trying to manage.
Yeah, and I guess like that's the part of it that I worry about a little bit. I'm not super plugged into the Bethesda series anyway, so like I don't really feel like I have too much of a dog in this fight. But like for me, it actually makes the Microsoft identity a little bit more boring. In that like it feels like they're sort of just chasing the same kind of like hyper violent aesthetic. Doesn't feel different enough from what you already see coming out of Microsoft owned studios. Um, but I mean and then like the existence of exclusives doesn't really bother me. It's sort of just like part of the business of video games. And for whatever reason we see some really high quality exclusives come out of both like PlayStation Studios and obviously Nintendo. Most of the games I play are Nintendo exclusives. So I can't begrudge Xbox having that. But yeah, it's just weird to see such a big kind of independent player in the video game sphere just sort of be swallowed up by a mega conglomerate like Microsoft.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, when you were saying when the 20th Century Fox acquisition was announced, people are like, great, X-Men, right, can be in the Marvel
Yeah.
universe. I saw a lot of reaction today because Microsoft had bought Obsidian not that long ago. And people were like, wow, like, so now Fallout will be under, like Microsoft, and so is Obsidian. So, like, Obsidian can work on, like, Fallout New Vegas 2 in the future, or something like that. And to me, that like I was like, oh, but like Obsidian finally is getting to do their own stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't have to like be this like. I just hope that it doesn't become like Fallout is everything, and you have like 5 studios working on new Fallout games all the time.
Yeah, well, and like it also like won't be that, right? Like, I mean, this will change the way Bethesda works, right? Like, Rare being purchased by Microsoft changed the way that Rare worked, and they were put on assignments that Microsoft needed, and it's really only been in the last like 3 or 4 years that like Rare has had a game like Sea of Thieves that actually like sort of represents the sort of like old Rare identity, and even that like sort of a sidestep from it. So it's it'll be interesting to see what these games end up being and just like the direction of this. All of it's going to happen so slow though. Like obviously they're honoring a lot of agreements that we already know about. Like you mentioned Deathloop, I think for the PlayStation 5 exclusive is still going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive for a while. But like there have to be other agreements for future games that we don't even know about yet that they're probably still going to honor. And Microsoft has been, as you mentioned, like sort of good about getting their published games on other platforms. Both Ori and Cuphead those aren't first party studios, they're just published by Microsoft. So it's a little bit different, but Yeah, it'll be super interesting to see where all this goes.
Could the next Smash Brothers DLC character be announced soon?
Oh, Mark.
And should we be basing our hopes on the takedown date for a Japanese 7-Eleven ad?
100% yes.
So on Twitter, user at OnuaUlt posted a photo of a display ad for the Smash Brothers Fighter Pass 2 download card that is currently being displayed in 7-Elevens in Japan.
Okay.
So the ad shows like 6 slots for fighters, and only Min Min is revealed. The other ones just have like the Smash Brothers logo.
Yeah.
The ad has a stop displaying date of October 4th. And apparently, with Hero and Banjo-Kazooie, the ad takedown date was just a few days after they were revealed.
So we're thinking sometime before October 4th. Mark, is it going to be our this Thursday surprise?
It could be. I mean, this week or next week, it seems very possible, right? Like, Nintendo had. It just feels like it's been every week we've been getting something, and it has been a while since we've heard anything about Smash DLC.
Man, that is exciting. When did we hear about Min Min? It feels like forever ago.
I feel like it was June when it was released.
Okay, all right. Well, and I think we knew it was an ARMS character like a month or two before that, and then I think it all happened at once, right? That it was like, by the way, it's Min Min. Here's an hour of Sakurai playing as her, and now you guys can all play as her as well. Do you think that they can continue to trickle out like one character at a time, announce and release the same day? Or because I mean, I know I haven't purchased the new Fighters Pack yet. I know you haven't. You might not ever. But like for me, I feel like I need to have a little bit more like excitement around the next maybe one or two characters before I'll throw down that money.
It's definitely not unprecedented, right? We got Hero and was it King K. Rool or was it Banjo-Kazooie that they like announced those together?
Yeah, that's right.
At E3 last year. So I don't know. Like maybe I can totally see why.
Yeah, I at this point I think I just need like another new character that I'm never gonna play as. Is not quite enough to get me excited about Smash again. If they could show me 2 though, that might do it.
This is actually a really good deal if you're interested in these games. There's a special double pack that contains Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Super Mario Party that's coming to Target on October 4th. You get both games for $99.99, plus you get a $10 Target gift card. Pre-orders are open now if you're into it. If you're one of the surprisingly few people who have not bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think like the attach rate is more than half of all Switch owners have that game.
Yeah, it's like 28 million copies out there.
A few weeks ago, we mentioned that Nintendo had announced a special shareholders meeting to be held in Tokyo on September 16th. At the time, we weren't sure what the purpose of the meeting was, but it turned out to just be like Nintendo's standard corporate management policy briefing. They usually have these, or previously they had them like right after an earnings call. I think they were twice a year. But Nintendo has decided to decouple them from the financial reporting going forward.
So no news out of this one, and this is us reporting on the fact that there is no news. No, but it's good though, because we at some point did say like there's a mysterious meeting. We've been told they're not going to make any news, but maybe they will.
Right. Yeah. And finally, Nintendo has announced that the 3DS is officially finished its production.
Wow.
They put out a statement saying, quote, "We can confirm that the manufacturing in the Nintendo 3DS family of systems has ended. Nintendo and third-party games for the Nintendo 3DS family of systems will continue to be available in Nintendo eShop, on Nintendo.com, and at retail. The existing library of more than 1,000 Nintendo DS games contains many critically acclaimed." I'm not going to read the rest of this.
Right.
But basically, like online play is still available. The Nintendo eShop is available. But basically, it's crazy to see the 3DS has ended.
Yeah.
No more 3DSs.
We did an episode maybe a year ago trying to predict what we thought the last 3DS game would be. And I don't think we were right. None of our guesses were right. And in fact, I think when we were making those guesses, we had already seen the last 3DS game.
We may not have known it at the time.
Yeah.
But we also, I think maybe that was the same episode, or we did a different episode that was just about celebrating the Nintendo 3DS.
Sure.
Because it really was like a remarkable system that really found its footing, has some like incredibly amazing games.
Yep.
Laid a lot of the groundwork for games that we're seeing like on Switch today and that we saw on the Wii U. So pour one out for the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah, a very good system. I'm sad to see it go. I'm excited / like nervous that we are now in an era of Nintendo that is a single pillar. And maybe they've like diversified enough so that it's like we're gonna have this Mario movie. There's gonna be the Mario theme park or the Super Nintendo Land, and mobile games, and like all of those like smaller pillars kind of come together to create the second. But like since 1988, Nintendo's been a home console / handheld company, and that's just not what they are anymore. Now they're
That's such a good point. That's a little bit like strange to have that book closed for now.
Yeah, and they've been able to lean on one when the other hasn't been super successful, and that's just thankfully the Switch is successful right now. But whatever the successor to it is going to be out on March 22nd, 2021, we'll have to bear that sort of burden on its own. If Nintendo puts out like another flop console, if they put out a Wii U, like analog in the next couple of years, like what do they do? Like how do they bounce back from that? They don't have like a 3DS to keep them afloat or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think exactly what you said is exactly right. That by diversifying, they're like, yes, the Switch U is a flop, but we have this like Mario movie that is a franchise that is continuing, to like, and we're getting the licensing money from Super Nintendo World and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess diversification is always going to be safer than riding a boom and bust roller coaster like they have been doing for the last 30 years. All right, Mark, let's close out the news. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. We had no time to screw around. We had so much news to discuss. Mark, I'm proud of us. I think we did it right.
I think so too. And if anybody wants to hear us talk about more about our driving schools, we can like
check out our driving school podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts if you like the episode. Please share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. On Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. From my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying March 26th, 2021. Mark your calendar. And thanks for listening.
I'm Kate Thompson.
And I'm Mark David Christensen. And together we host Crap, a Hellboy podcast.
The show dedicated to the half-demon hero brought forth by writer-artist Mike Mignola and published by Dark Horse Comics.
Each week we discuss everything Hellboy.
Plus his expanded universe with the BPRD, Abe Sapien, Lobster Johnson, and many more.
That's Crap, a Hellboy podcast on Campfire Media or wherever you get your podcasts.
Campfire.